King Ray Ray in this bitch. Ha! What's good, brothers? What's good? It's your man, Dr. BOA, aka King Ray Ray in this thing. Appreciate y'all joining me, man. Let's give the people a few minutes to slide up in the joint. We're going to keep it a buck with them, man. We're going to keep it a buck. Salute to everyone in the joint so far. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up, man, on your way in, brothers. D Flam, what's good, brother? Salute to you. YMC, my brother, is in the building. The mod squad is on deck. SJ3, what up, homie? The mod squad is now 3 deep and in the building, man. Let me, man, I ain't even logged in. Y'all give me a minute here. Let me log in right quick, man. I was actually, man, working on the content for tonight, man. So y'all bear with me, man. I was working on the content for the night, and we got it together. We got it together. All right. So look, man, we had an amazing, man, we had a banging show last night, bro. We had a banging show last night, man. We jumped up to 1,000 in the joint last night, man. That was crazy, bro. That was crazy, man. Crazy. Adam Vischer, what's good, brother? Kevin Barone, salute to you. Abdullah, what's up, man? AVP Lifestyle, what's happening, man? T3 Stack, good to see you, bro. Oscar, what up with you, OJ? B. Haywood, what up with you, brother? What up with you, man? Hey, I appreciate that, bro. Appreciate it. Hey, it was crazy in that last night, brothers. I mean, I'm glad y'all had an opportunity to experience that with me, man. That was crazy. I'm gonna be honest with you. That was totally out of the blue, man. I had no idea it was gonna go that way, bro. Real talk, man. Stay focused. What's good, bro? Stop lying, my dude. What up, man? TD, what up with you, homie? Peace to you. Sun Low, I see you, bro. So, let's give the people a few more minutes to get in here, man. So, we're gonna talk about, man, 7 myths about God. 7, and some of these are reasons that a lot of black men and women don't believe in God, man, because of these myths. And I'm gonna attempt to clear these up for all of the American descendants of Israel. We're not American descendants of slaves. We're American descendants of Israel. Big Phil, what's good, brother? That's who we are, man. So, yeah, man, the trolls got crazy in there last night, man. I saw y'all booting cats out of there left and right, man. It was crazy, bro. So, there's 7 myths about God, man, that I need to clear up. Now, there are some people who ain't going to agree with this, and that's fine. You don't have to agree with nothing I say. But what I'm doing is giving brothers insight, giving me from the Most High. I just open my mouth and let the Most High talk. So, I was about to check out, man. Then it just, Adam Vischer, appreciate the super chat, brother. Brother say, giving praise to the Most High. Thanks for the real teachers out here. Salute to you, brother. Appreciate it. Cool gent. What up, man? I like to get the people about 5 to get in, man. So let's just let's be patient, man, and give them a few minutes to get in here. This channel is still taking a minute for the notifications to get out sometimes, but I appreciate it, man. So a lot of these myths, man, are based on misunderstanding. See, what I want to do with the God Body podcast is replace the misunderstandings about religion and spirituality with an understanding of godliness. Because spirituality and religion are 2 different things. But neither one of those things is godly. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in this joint. SJ3, appreciate the $5 super chat, bro. My brother say King Ray Ray the realest. Salute to you, my brother. 100. Kings in the building. So let's give the people one more minute, man. Maybe we'll be up to about 30 people in here by then. I know this is an odd time of the day. Friday. You know, people probably getting off early, man. They probably out kicking with their people. So now, the reason why I want to do this topic, man, is because I hear a lot of people talking about God isn't real. And when I hear them talk about God, they always talk about church and religion, and Buddhism and priest and Catholicism, and Catholicism rather, and the Virgin Mary, and all of these things that have nothing to do with God. Don't P. So we're going to talk about this thing. First of all, let me tell you right now, I'm not a Christian. I don't go to church, and I don't drink the Jesus juice. I don't drink it. I like water. I don't like sweet drinks. I don't drink Cokes and Dr. Pepper and all that. I don't drink none of that. I don't drink Mountain Dew. So I don't drink the Jesus juice. If you do, this one isn't for you. Or maybe it is. Just stay around and listen a little bit. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is this. Jesus is not God. That's not God. I hear men talking about, I've heard men say, God died for our sins. God died on the cross. I mean, I wouldn't dare bring myself to disrespect God and say man killed him. Man done killed God. I wouldn't bring myself to say that. Nothing could be further from the truth. So no matter who you think he is not God. He is not God. The whole Holy Trinity thing, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, come on, man. A black man should never open his mouth to say nothing foolish like that. If he does, it's because he doesn't know God. So let me tell you what the problem is with a lot of black men. Their understanding of God, spirituality, and religion came from their mothers. They were taught church by their mothers. They were told that God is in church by their mothers. They were forced to go to church by their mothers and their grandmothers. They were forced to do all of these things. So their original inclination, and let me tell you something about us as human beings. Whatever we learn first, everything we learn beyond that point tends to be centered around that. You understand? It's hard to stray away from that thing that you've been taught. It's hard to stray away. Now, another thing. Jesus is not God's only son. He was never God's only son. He was not even God's firstborn. You know God's firstborn son was? You and I, the Israelite people, the children of Israel. You need proof? The book of Exodus, chapter 4, verse 21 through 23. And the Lord said unto Moses, when thou goest to return into Egypt, see that thou do all those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in thine hand. But I will harden his heart, that he shall not let the people go. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Lord, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. I say again, thus saith the Lord, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. And I say unto thee, let my son go, that he may serve me. And if thou refuse to let him go, behold, I will slay thy son, even thy firstborn. So to show you how real God was about Israel, the children of Israel, the nation of Israel, being his firstborn son, Pharaoh wouldn't let him go. He killed the firstborn of everything in the land. I'm talking about from the cattle to the dog to the cat to the people. Kill the firstborn of everything, just to show you for sure. If you're going to hold my firstborn son, I'm going to kill yours. See, let me tell you something. When I talk, I'm going to have the word to back me. I ain't gonna say it if I can't find it. If it ain't in the word backing me, it ain't for me to say. So you have to understand that when we talk about elevating someone above us, when it comes to God, there is no one above us as a people. We don't have to go through Jesus to get to God. We are right next to God. We are his firstborn son. If anything, he's our little brother. According to God, we are his firstborn son, which makes Jesus our little brother. I'm not saying he's not the son of God. I'm saying he's not the firstborn. He's our little brother. Don't get me wrong, man. I love my little brother. Got nothing but love for my little brother, man. But let's keep it a buck. You can think what you want to think and believe what you've been told. But what I'm talking to you right now is out of the word of the Most High. And let me tell you something. Anybody who comes in and refuses it, talking about they new books they found, let me help y'all understand something before we continue. You can listen to what somebody has to say. And you can read what you want to read. But let me ask you something. If we know that every translation leaves something out, I don't know if you did this little experiment in school, but a teacher would sit 10 students down and tell the first student something and tell them to pass it on. By the time it got to the 10th student, it didn't resemble anything that the teacher had said. That's just how translations go. Now, we know that with every translation, something is lost in the translation. So how you gonna come to me with a book that got published in 2017 talking about it corrects my Bible that was published in 1971? It ain't got no back on it. It ain't got no cover on it. The glossary about gone. Everything in it about gone. It's in bad shape. It's in terrible shape, as a matter of fact. The pages all folded in it. I'm talking about the pages is jacked up in it, man. It ain't in no kind of shape. But you know what? It's got the word in it. And it's more accurate than your word. Copyright 1971, Royal Publishers, Inc. 1971, brothers. Let's think about how long ago 1971 was. You understand, man? We're talking about 50 years ago. Now, how you going to come to me with something that's 2 years old and tell me that it's the correct version of something that's 50 years old when we know that something is lost in every translation? Explain that to me. Now, let's get back into this thing, man. So first is, Jesus is not God. He's not even God's firstborn son. You and I are. See, as a black man, you got to keep your mind. You got to keep your mind focused on the truth of life, man. The truths of life. Not with somebody telling you that ain't showing you no proof. Don't go find me no doctrine that you done picked up from some Canadian dude or some some dude who lives in Zimbabwe in Istanbul, Turkey, talk about what he's proven. Man, how you gonna listen to somebody who ain't like you prove something to you? Now let's get into this next thing. The next myth that I want to clear up is that God is in church. That's the biggest myth. That's the most damaging myth of all, that God is in church. That you got to leave your home and carry your body to a church. Well, you know what? God is in church because all the people that come got God in them. The Spirit of God is in you, brother. It is there inside you. Your connection to God is spiritual. It's your spiritual energy, your spiritual entity. There ain't no God in church. Well, let me ask you this. If there's God in church, what happened to all those people that was in Eddie Long church? You think God was in there? Do you think God was in there in Eddie Long church? I don't think so. Do you think God is in Creflo Dollar church? The boy just asked the church for $20 million so he can buy a new jet when he already got a jet. You think God is in that boy church? Let me tell you something. Nobody can lead you to the Most High but a priest of Israel. The only man who can lead you to the Most High is an Israelite priest, a descendant of the tribe of Levi. No one else can do it. And that's the reality of it. So yeah, God is going to come to the church when the people show up. Pull up outside. God ain't in there yet. He coming in there with you. if he in there at all. You ain't got to go to church to find God. God ain't at church. Because let me tell you like this, man, there's 10 million churches in America. You mean tell me every Sunday, God making the rounds like Santa Claus, showing up at all of them at the same time? And I know some beta male gonna say, well, God can be everywhere. What are you talking about, son? You don't know God. What you think you know about God? God is everywhere. God is omnipotent. God is the Alpha and Omega. Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Nissi. God is everywhere. Yeah, everywhere we are. Because he's in us. Another thing is this, man. Religion is not the same as godly. You can be religious all day long, but that don't mean you're a godly man. Actually, religious has nothing to do with being godly. So when somebody go to church and they always doing all that praying all the time and all, let me tell you something. Let's go back into the Old Testament. I want y'all to look and see how many times God was prayed to. Only time a man dropped on his knees and besought God is when he was really beseeching God. David, you saw David do it one time when he went and slept with Bathsheba as a forgiveness thing, beseeching God for forgiveness. We didn't pray to God. We talked to God. God spoke to us. God picked a man and spoke to him, and the man spoke to us on behalf of God. We didn't do none of that bowing down, praying on our knees and doing none of that, man. We're God's. Listen, you ain't got to bow down to your daddy. Of course, you got to respect your dad, but you ain't got to bow down and bow your head and do all that to your dad, man. We are God's firstborn son. All that bowing, all that praying and getting in the closet and doing all that, man, that's a Christian doctrine, bro. That's Christian doctrine. We talk to God. Look at all the book of Psalms. Those are songs to God. Nobody was on their knees. They were singing. The psalmist was playing. The psalmist was singing. The people were rejoicing. Even in the wilderness. You look at the Israelites in the wilderness. They didn't pray to God. They sang to God. We beseech God with joy in our voices. That's what we've always done. Now we're living in a world that has these mysterious doctrines popping up that we got to do what everybody. Now, they may have to bow down to God because they're not the chosen. If you're not the chosen ones, if you're not the chosen people, you might have to bow down. But we don't have to deal with God the way you do. I don't have to deal with my daddy the way you do. You got your own daddy, the devil. Another thing is this, brothers. Spiritual is not the same as godly. You know, you hear a lot of people say, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. That don't mean nothing. And we all spiritual, either evil spirits or righteous spirits, either godly spirits or devilish spirits. We all spiritual. We are all human bodies with spirits inside. Our bodies house spirits. We're all spiritual. So when someone says, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, I'm a spiritual man, we're all spiritual men. Charles Manson was a spiritual man. Jeffrey Dahmer was a spiritual man. Hell, Birdman is a spiritual man. Eddie Long was a spiritual man. Spiritual does not mean godly. It does not mean you honor God. It does not mean you revere God. It does not mean you respect God. It does not mean you obey God. It is simply stating that you are a certain state. You are in a certain state of existence. You are spiritual. Let me tell you, when men say I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, it is almost, it's like a neutral zone. They don't want to be religious because religion is bad. Religion is just not good. Religion takes you out of the essence of who you are. It takes you out of the essence of being a man. It tells you to be less than a man. But they don't want to go all the way over to being godly because being godly is a hard life. Whole lot of things you're doing, you got to cut that loose, man, when you be godly. If you want to be godly, if you want to reap the benefits of a godly man, a whole lot of things, a whole lot of people got to be cut loose. And that's a hard life for most people to live. Most people aren't prepared for that because they're so caught up on the rewards of living in the world, of living a worldly life. So they just stay and say, I'm spiritual. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. I met a woman who told me that, man, that woman believed in 11 goddesses. There was a goddess for everything. The goddess of light, the goddess of rain, the goddess of water, the goddess of weed, the goddess of dreads, the goddess of toenail polish, the goddess of French tips, the goddess of little fluffy dogs, the goddess of red bottom shoes, the goddess of gold teeth, the goddess of piercings, the goddess of earrings, the goddess of hog meat, the goddess of Jamaican butter beans. She had a goddess for everything, man. A goddess of Christmas, a goddess of Thanksgiving. A goddess of Hershey's Kisses, a goddess of peanut brittle. That was a goddess of everything in that woman's life, man. But she was spiritual. There's only two kinds of people. There's the godly and the ungodly. You did? There's the godly and the ungodly. And that's just the truth of the matter. This is just the bottom line, man. So spiritual is not the same as godly. Godly is a man who looks at the word of God, applies the word of God, reveres God, and lives a life that God is proud of him living, that God is pleased with him living. Just because God didn't kill you yet don't mean he pleased you. That means he's being merciful to you. Another thing is this, man. The myth that faith is the way to God. The myth that faith is the way to God. God don't want your faith. Damn your faith. God wants your obedience. Obey his word. Let me tell you something. Let's go and look at these curses of obedience and all of those things there. Now let's talk about this. You got to keep in mind, man, that let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 1 through 3. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither the Lord God hath driven thee, and shalt return unto the Lord thy God, and shalt obey his voice, according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thine heart and with all thine soul, that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all nations, whither the Lord thy God hath scattered thee. So when I tell you, men, that we have to turn ourselves back to God in order for God to give us the power and strength to relieve ourselves from this situation, I'm telling you what the word of God says. God says, hey, if you turn back to me, no matter what I do to you, no matter how bad it gets, if you turn back to me, thou and thy children, not just you, thou and thy children. You notice he didn't say thy women. He said thou and thy children. And he was talking to the men of Israel. He wasn't talking to all the children of Israel. He was talking to the men of Israel. Thou and thy children, with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither the Lord thy God has scattered thee. What that sound like to you, man? I don't make up what I come in here and talk about, man. I ain't trying to outdo nobody. I ain't trying to be right. I'm just opening my mouth, man, saying what God taught me. That's all I'm doing. And if any of thine be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. And the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it, and he will do thee good, and multiply thee above thy fathers. And the Lord thy God will circumcise thine heart, and the heart of thy seed, to love the Lord thy God with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. And the Lord thy God will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. Brothers, God don't want your faith. He don't give a damn about your faith. Faith in what? Faith that if you continue to go about the way you're going, something gonna change if you don't change your actions? That's insanity. Sounds to me like faith might be akin to insanity. I'm just gonna keep living my life and wait. Good things come to those who wait. Now I know some old school preacher, religious Christian cat gonna come in here talking about, boy, let me tell you something. You don't know God. God says be faithful. God says if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. That's what God said. Now, that ain't what God said. That's what Paul said. Paul don't represent God. Paul don't even represent Jesus. Jesus was dead when Paul came along. Paul represents himself and the Christian doctrine that caused empires to be shaken and breaking. I'm talking about God. You understand what I'm saying? I'm talking about God. Brown Hornet, appreciate the $10 super chat, brother. Say I finally made it to this channel. Salute King Ray Ray. Salute to your Hornet. Prime, appreciate the $2 super chat, my brother Primal Fitness. I'm not making any of these things up, brothers. I wouldn't make them up. That's why when I come in here and I mention the Most High, I come in here girded with the word. I'm going to come in here with it. Anybody who want to dispute this got to come to me with a Bible older than 1971. You come to me with something from 1950 that says something different than this, then you got me, brother. I'm going to get into that word and I'm going to make some adjustments. But if you come to me with anything later than 1971, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm not going to listen to you. We can't even have no conversation because you ain't got sense enough. Listen, why do you think we go back and get artifacts? Why do you think we want to go back and get the original text? Now, what's closer to the original text? A translation from 71 or a translation from 2001? A translation from 69 or a translation from 2019? Let's be realistic, brothers. Another thing I want to tell you is this, man, another myth about God is that a life of sin is okay as long as you ask for forgiveness before you die. Man, they think God is a fool. They think you can play God like a fool. They believe you can live your life however you want to. And when that old heart start going out on you laid up in that bed, you say, oh God, before I die, forgive me for my sins. I didn't mean to do it, God. I wish I could have had a godly life. If you give me one more life, God, I'll change. God, don't let me go to the lake of fire. Don't let me do none of that, God. Man, that don't work. You can't fool God, homie. You can't live your life in sin until you die and then on your deathbed tell my God, forgive me. That's crazy, dog. That don't even make sense to me, man. Don't make a bit of sense. It's crazy out here, man, the type of things that we'll go for and believe and allow people to tell us. When in all actuality, we try and play God like he wanted. Man, we try and play God like a beta male simp mangina, man. We trying to play God like he dumb. We try to play him like he weak. We try to play him like he's soft. And we try to play him like he an emotional wreck that's all caught up in his emotion and he ain't gonna think logically and be like, well, yeah, I love you. So I know you're meant to do better even though you didn't do nothing right in your whole life. So I'm not gonna curse you. I'm gonna bless you. Come on, my son. Man, that ain't how God functions. That's the reality of it, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we got to keep these things in mind, man. You got to live your life according to the will of the Most High for your life. So this goes right in hand with faith is the way to God. If faith is the way to God, that means you ain't got to do nothing. I know they say faith without works is, but what are works? What are works? What are works? I ain't got to have faith. I just got to believe God is an honest man. I just got to believe he's honest. I just got to look at him and say, okay, you say if I do this, this is what you're going to do? Fine, I'm going to do this. Then I just go on about my life. I don't even worry about it no more. That's not how they define faith. They define faith as, let me tell you something, and this is the reality of it, man. When I hear a preacher telling somebody, you got to pray. And when you pray, and them lights about to get cut off, and you don't know what you're going to do with them babies in the dark, and it's cold, and it's winter time, and you and the babies in the house with your coats on, and you don't know what you're going to eat. You got your candles out because you know they about to come cut it off, and then that bill gets paid, and you get paid one day early so you can pay that bill. Ain't God good? Let me tell you something, bro, and it's real talk. If you struggling to pay your bills, bro, you got a bad relationship with God. You got a terrible relationship with God. And coming up soon, man, I'll discuss the blessings that the Most High swears to us, man, that we follow his word. You got to understand, man, that we're all here. And everywhere else in the world we are, where we're suffering and being persecuted and all that, man, we're here because of a curse from the Most High. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how much real estate you flip. I don't care how many bricks you flip. I don't care how many bowls you sell. I don't care how many tricks you turn. I don't care about how many licks you hit. You are still going to be in the most oppressed state in this society because that is what God has for you. It is not a blessing to be able to pay your bill with your last money. Your ass is living a cursed life if that is your reality. If your reality is that you got to struggle to buy a sandwich, that is not a blessing. If your reality is you got to hide your car to keep from getting it repoed, you are not reaping the benefits of living a godly life. You're just not doing that. And that's just the reality of it. Say no knock on nobody that's struggling, but if you're struggling, you got to look at your spirituality and ask yourself, does that have something to do with it? So I say unto you, living a struggling life. You know, they say that if you follow God, you're going to be persecuted. You're going to suffer. You're going to be punished and attacked. Well, God just told me if I follow him, that he going to turn my captivity and have compassion on me and return and gather me from all the nations where he scattered me to. That's what he told me. He said, and the Lord thy God will make thee plenteous in every work of thine hand, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy land for good. For the Lord will again rejoice over thee for good as he rejoiced over thy fathers. Sound to me like I don't know what God you worship if your ass got to be persecuted, even though you worship your God. If the result of you worshiping your God is persecution, when the result of me worshiping my God is deliverance from persecution, if the result of you worshiping your God is you having to take punishment from folks, being spat on and being laughed at, when the reward from my God for obedience to him and worshiping him is to be above the fray and be untouchable to y'all and have him work on my behalf to make you a stepping stool, a step stool, a footstool for me, I don't want to worship the God you worship. I prefer my God. I prefer my God. So living a life of struggle is not what God gives you. It is not this kumbaya, turn the other cheek. We all one. We all born with the same blood. No. We're only in that situation because we're oppressed because of punishment from the Most High. If we were in our rightful place, we will be above all other people on the earth. That is just the reality of it, man. That's the reality of it. And the last thing I want to talk about, man, we're going to spend about 10 minutes on this one, maybe. The last myth about God is that God is a woman. I almost don't need to say nothing about this one. It's that God is a woman. Why? Because the woman creates life. Newsflash. The woman does not create life. The woman incubates life. The man fertilizes an egg, and therefore a life begins. The woman does not create life. If she created life, then her egg would be able to self-fertilize. It can't self-fertilize. See, let me tell you something. Man doesn't create life either. Woman doesn't create life. God creates life through a union between man and woman. Man or woman cannot profess to be the creator of life, because the same way her egg can't fertilize itself, your seed goes out from you and is just lost if it has no egg to fertilize. There is no such thing as being a creator of life unless you are the creator. No one else creates life. Now they're trying to clone things and do all that, with their devilment right now. But I'm talking about us. I don't create life. You know how many nuts I busted in my life? If I created life, then every time I bust one, I'd be another seed created. Only time you can create a seed, boy, if you got a woman, or at least the egg from a woman. Only time she can cultivate and incubate a seed, a life, is if her egg is fertilized. There is no other way around it. So I wish everybody would stop claiming to be the damn creator. But the difference between us, we never say, I'm the creator, so that makes me God. She does. And if anybody was going to profess to be creator, it would have to be the giver of the life, the giver of the life force. The energy of God comes from our seed and fertilizes the body. We talk about the spirit and the body. The egg is the body. The seed is the carrier of the spirit. That's why if a man has an evil demon spirit, his child has an evil demon spirit. It don't matter how good the woman is. If a man has a righteous spirit, it don't matter how bad the woman is, his seed has a righteous spirit. The man's energy affects the child's energy. Physically, the child may look like both. The child could possibly look like the mother more, at least for a while, maybe forever, maybe at the end, maybe at the beginning. But the energy of that child comes from his father, comes from the spirit energy that comes from the seed. And somebody may say, well, how do you know, boy, that God didn't make the woman's egg alive? Because I tell you, the egg is moved along the fallopian tube by little hair-like extensions. And if those don't help it along, it doesn't move. Sometimes those little hairs are lazy. Sometimes they don't work properly. So that's when we have an ectopic pregnancy or a tubal pregnancy. Because the egg can't say, let me tell you, the egg moves along like one of those car washes you pull your car into. They tell you to pull up, tell you to stop, put your car in neutral, foot off the brake, and it just pushes your car through. You can't drive anymore until you get to the end and you get to that green light. Once it pushes you out, like a woman pushes out the child. The egg cannot do it on its own. So it gets stuck there, lodged there. And you know what? If the sperm get to the uterus and the egg is not there, the sperm keep right on moving until it finds the egg. Where are you, egg? Which one of these tubes are you up, egg? Half of the sperm go left, half of the sperm go right. Wherever the egg is, that's where it's going to be fertilized. Because the sperm are alive. They are swimming. But that's hypothetical. Man doesn't create life. Woman doesn't create life. God creates life through a physical and spiritual bonding period between man and woman, male and female. And that is just the reality of it. That's a great point, Amir. We are few in number, brothers. We are few in numbers. Let me tell you something. The majority of Israelite men have become Christians Muslims, or atheists. There is only a remnant of us left. There is only a remnant of us left. I say again, the majority of us have become Christians, Muslims, or atheists. And there's only a remnant of us left. But we are here, and we are doing the good work of the Most High. Anybody who doesn't want to join us, fine. They don't have to. We're not on a mission for them. We're on a mission for the Most High. And you, my brothers, are very necessary in this struggle to move our people back toward God. It is very necessary. And unlike those who worship other gods, idol gods, we won't be persecuted by our enemies for worshiping our God. But we'll be persecuted by our enemies for not honoring and obeying our God, as we have already. Look at our history. Another thing, the last thing I want to cover, because I do want to throw this in. God doesn't look like anything. See, let me tell you a secret. We want to think God looks like us. We want to think God looks like us because we read where it says, let us make man in our image. It didn't say, let us make man look like us. It said, let us make man in our image, which means the image that we've concocted. Let us come up with an image that is our image of what man should be, and let's make man in our image. It does not mean let's make man look like us. That's just man being cocky and facetious, saying that I look like God. No, you don't. You don't. You don't. It's easy to embrace something that makes you feel higher than you are. But man, we're just men. We have no real power outside of God. A man can punch you hard enough to kill you. Think about that. A man can punch you hard enough to kill you. There are professional boxers who get killed in the ring, and these men got on gloves. We are fickle. We have no power. Our power is in our spirituality. Physically, there are many animals that can kill us. Some of them are very small. Mentally, we are governed by a society that pretty much has us running through hoops, jumping hoops mentally. The only place you can't be controlled is spiritually. In this society, the only place you have an absolute choice, the only realm you have an absolute choice in what you're going to do is spiritually. Because you lose a loved one, you don't know how it's going to affect you. You watch a loved one die in front of you, you don't know how it's going to affect you. You're in a car wreck with a loved one, they die, you get out without a scratch, you don't know how it's going to affect you. You got to sit there and watch them bleed out, or you got to watch their head explode beside you against the dashboard, and you're sitting in there trapped in the car with their brains leaking out their head. You got to watch them jerking and shaking and sounding like they're trying to talk because their brain had registered the fact that they dead. You don't know how this is going to affect you. But you can always make a choice of what you're going to do spiritually. You can always make the choice. And that's the reality of it, brothers. So, I don't want to make this thing too long, man. I want to come in here and chop it up, man, and put one up that I can leave up. Again, man, y'all be ready for the Patreon drop tonight, man. It's going to be epic. I got some great questions from some men that I answered, man, on this one. Great questions. This is going to be probably the best drop yet, man. And I ain't just saying that because I want y'all to go over there, man. I'm for real. Probably going to be the best drop yet. So if you haven't joined Patreon, go ahead over there, man, and do yourself a favor. To everyone else who's already joined, I appreciate it. Again, brothers, I appreciate y'all being there with me for the epic night last night. I don't know if we're going to be able to replicate that. I wasn't planning on that happening then. What we're going to do, we're going to keep on working on behalf of the Most High. Whatever comes with that, we'll take it. I appreciate y'all being in the joint, man. Everybody, man, much respect, much love for y'all, man. We might end up coming back on tonight, man. We'll see. I normally don't come on Friday night, but I don't know, man. I'm feeling a little froggish. I don't want to do it just because I had a good night last night, though. You know, I don't want to jump off into it and say, "Ooh, I'm gonna see if I can duplicate that night." But anyway, brothers, I appreciate everybody being in the joint. Let's ride on out of here, man. Mod Squad, Flims, SJ, YMC. Appreciate y'all, brothers. Everybody with the super chats, appreciate y'all, man. Let's ride. King Ray Ray in this bitch. Ah.
Chuck Diesel.